Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel IGCSE Biology Help. In today's video, I'm going to be solving the biology paper 4. This is the extended October-November 2023 paper 4. This is the latest released exam as of today. Let's start solving. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and like my videos. So question number 1 says figure 1.1 shows the changes in the concentration of two hormones involved in the menstrual cycle. State the names of hormones Y and Z in figure 1.1. This is actually the FSH, Y is actually the FSH, and the LH is actually Z. In figure 1.1, sketch a line to show the levels of progesterone through the 28-day menstrual cycle. So over here I have drawn this graph in the blue, and we all know that the progesterone levels actually increase from starting from like the 15th day, the 14th day, and it increases rapidly between days 14 to 28, and it decreases right after day 28. So IV says state the main site of progesterone production during pregnancy. This is actually the placenta. B says egg cells are contained in follicles in the ovary. At the start of the menstrual cycle, a follicle has an average diameter of 29 micrometers. Just before an egg is released from the follicle has an average diameter of 22 millimeter. So as you guys can see that there's actually different units, so that you guys have to make sure to change them to one unit. Calculate the percentage increase in the average diameter of the follicle from the start of the menstrual cycle until just before an egg is released. So step 1 says convert the average starting diameter of a follicle to millimeters. So we have to convert the 29 micrometers into millimeters. So we know that 1 millimeter is actually equal to 1000 micrometers. So you're going to be dividing the 29 over 1000. This will give you 0.029 millimeters. This is actually our answer. Step 2 says calculate the percentage increase. You're going to be calculating the percentage increase from the 22 over here, from 0.029 until 22. So this is actually by subtracting the 22 from 0.029, this will give you 21 0.971 millimeters. This is actually the change of the size of the follicle. Now you're going to be dividing that over the number from before the change, and you're going to multiply by 100. This is going to give you 7,762%. So this is the change percentage increase. Give your answer to three significant figures. It's going to be 75,800. C says once an egg cell has been released from the follicle, it can be fertilized by a sperm cell. State three adaptive features of a sperm cell. So we know that the sperm cell actually has a flagellum, because this is the structure that allows the sperm to move rapidly. It also has large amounts of mitochondria to provide energy for the movement, and haploid nucleus. 2 says the small intestine is lined with many villi and is adapted to absorb glucose. Figure 2.1 shows two villi from the lining of the small intestine. State the name of structure N in figure 2.1. This is actually the lacteal. Cell M in figure 2.1 secretes mucus. State the name of cell M. This is actually the goblet cell. Anything that secretes mucus is automatically goblet cell. 3 triple I. State one other place in the body where mucus secreting cells are found. This is in trachea, bronchi, or bronchioles. IV says describe and explain how the structure of a villus is adapted for its function. First of all, you have to say that the microvilli, they have large surface area. This is so the diffusion can be rapid, and also the epithelium is one cell thick for rapid diffusion. Again, good blood supply to maintain steep concentration gradient. So what's the importance of having a good blood supply? This is actually to provide oxygen so that the concentration gradient is steep or high, so that there is enough oxygen all the time, so that the diffusion and the respiration can occur successfully. B says state the name of the main blood vessel that takes blood from the small intestine to the liver. This is actually the hepatic portal vein. So anything that is related to the liver, it's called hepatic. So this is just an important tip for you guys. C says all cells develop from stem cells. Describe what is meant by the term stem cell. So this is actually the definition that is written in the syllabus, and it's supposed to be written in the book as well. It is the unspecialized daughter cells that divide by mitosis to produce daughter cells that become specialized for specific functions. D says some cells in the small intestine have many mitochondria. Figure 2.2 shows the variation in the average number of mitochondria found in three different types of cells. Explain the differences in the average number of mitochondria in each type of cell. So first of all, you're going to say what is the use of mitochondria. First of all, mitochondria is the area, it is the site of aerobic respiration, and energy is released from there. And also, you have to say that the heart, it's always contracting, so it will require a high amount of mitochondria because it needs a high amount of energy. And also the epithelial cells require more energy, so there will be more mitochondria found there. Active transport, it occurs in small intestine, so that will require mitochondria to be present. While red blood cells, they actually take their energy from oxygen that is supplied through diffusion, so there's no active transport that is required there, and so there is no mitochondria in the red blood cells. So this is just a comparison between the average number of mitochondria in each type of cell. 3a, frogs are classified as amphibians. State two features of amphibians that distinguish them from all other vertebrates. You can say that there is gas exchange through the skin. Larvae have gills and adults have lungs. Larva is basically like the small frogs, like they are not adults yet, so they don't have a fully developed lung. And also we can say a third one, which the adults, they can live both on land and in water. Figure 3.1 is a photograph of a cross-section of a frog's eye. Identify the labeled identify the structure labeled G and H in figure 3.1. So G is actually the cornea and H is actually the lens. Figure 3.2 is a diagram of a rod cell and a cone cell from a human eye. Identify cell structures K, L, and M in figure 3.2. So over here, we can see that K is actually pointing towards the cell membrane because this is the outer lining of the cell, and L is actually the cytoplasm inside of here, and M is actually the nucleus because this is we know that the nucleus is the small or the big black circle that is found inside of a cell. This is how it looks like. And double I says state the names of the two parts of the mammalian central nervous system, the CNS, which is the brain and spinal cord. C says figure 3.3 is a graph showing the distribution of rod cells and cone cells across the retina in a human eye. On figure 3.3, draw the letter P to show the location of the fovea, the letter Q to show the location of the blind spot. So first of all, I labeled it over here in letter P. It is in this area because in this area there is no cone cells. There's only rod cells over there, and this part over here in the middle, it is actually Q, which is the blind spot, which does not have any cone cells or rod cells. I describe and explain the distribution of rod cells and cone cells shown in figure 3.3. There are no rod cells and cone cells at the blind spot, as we all know, so there's no vision as a result because of optic nerve, and there are more rod cells than cone cells, as rods provide night vision. So we know that rods provide black and white vision, and the cone cells, they provide RGB vision, which means red, green, and blue, the colors that we see. And also there are no equal distribution of cone cells and rod cells, as there is three types of cells. So This is basically what you need to know about the rod cells and cone cells. Triple I, some mammals are nocturnal, which means they are active at night and sleep during the day, suggest how the number of and distribution of rod cells and cone cells across the retina of a nocturnal mammal would differ from a human retina. So there will be more rod cells because they are active at night, which means they use their night vision more than their cone cells. So there will be cone cells, but it will be the cone cells will be dominated by the rod cells, or there will be basically more rod cells because, as I said, it provides black and white vision, and the rods are at fovea. For mitosis and meiosis are both important processes for life. Complete the sentences about mitosis and meiosis. Mitosis is a type of nuclear division which produces genetically identical cells. It is important for growth, repair of tissues, and asexual reproduction. So we know that mitosis is responsible for asexual reproduction. This is how it basically occurs, and also in humans, we our cells divide by mitosis so that they can repair themselves. Just before mitosis, the chromosomes are replicated, and then the chromosomes separate so that the chromosome number is maintained in each daughter cell. Meiosis is another type of nuclear division that is involved in the production of gametes. The chromosome number is halved from diploid to haploid, resulting in genetically different cells. The fusion of the nuclei of two gametes are formed by meiosis, forming a zygote. The process is known as fertilization. So this is basically meiosis, as we all know. It is responsible for fertilization because the chromosome number is halved from diploid to haploid in like the gametes, which are the sex cells basically. So they will form a zygote. By a haploid means that it only has one pair, and so when not one pair, it only one pair. So when they both join together, they will form two pairs, which will form a zygote, which all humans have basically. B says mutations are a source of genetic variation in a population. Describe what is meant by gene mutation. It is actually the definition, which is a random change in the base sequence of DNA. State two examples of how mutation rates can be increased. This is by carcinogens, which means substances that cause cancer, and ionizing radiation. Number 5, figure 5.1 shows the changes in the percentage of the total global fish stocks that are overfished and those that are sustainable. So here's the diagram. Use the information in figure 5.1 to state the percentage of fish stocks that were sustainable in 2020. So how do we find this out? This is actually by, over here we have the black one over here. This is actually the overfished, and the sustainable are the gray ones. So how will you find out the percentage? You're going to get the sustainable minus the overfished. So over here we have the overfished. You're going to see how much is their percentage over here. We're going to go like that, and I'm going to zoom in. This is actually going to be 32, and this is 34. So you're going to be minusing 100 minus 34, and this is going to give you 66%. So this is the sustainable fish stocks. Now state which 5-year period had the greatest increase in sustainable fish populations. This is actually from 1985 until 1990. Over here we can see that there's a big change. There's a huge decrease in the overfished. As we can see, from 1980 until 1985 there's a huge increase in the overfished, but we are looking for the decrease, which is from 1985 until 1990. And so this was when there was a decrease, and then it increased again afterwards in 1995 and so on. So this is the time period. B, overfishing is one reason why populations of fish decline. Explain the risks to a species if its population size decreases. So this is actually a big problem, overfishing, because when the population of fish declines, this is actually a result of reduction in genetic variation, which means that all the fish basically have the same genes. There's no difference, there's no diversity in the genes, all of them have the same gene. Of course, this is a problem, because if there's anything can wipe out the population of the fish, then all of the fish will die. There is no fish that is going to survive if all of them have the same species. Let's take an example. For example, I have a farm and I only plant strawberries there, for example, and then a disease or something in the air came, or a pest came, or an insect or anything, a virus, anything. This virus affects only strawberries. So this means that I will lose all of my crops, and I will lose all of my like the farm. I will lose everything there because I only planted one type of crop. So this is a problem actually. There has to be biodiversity. Inbreeding may occur as a result of fish that cannot find their mates. Increasing frequency of recessive alleles may be present, which can cause extinction and endangerment. So actually, when there is recessive alleles that are present in many fish, then they can actually cause extinction because an endangerment, because they cannot fight for example, if there is any environmental pressure on them, they cannot fight because they have recessive alleles. So there will be a higher risk of extinction again. C says describe and explain how fish stocks can be managed sustainably and how overfishing can be prevented through conservation. So how can we protect the fish stocks that is present right now? This is by educating people, by raising awareness. And what is the use of educating people? What will happen if we educate people? There will be a reduced demand to eat from unsustainable fish stocks. So this will cause, if people are aware of the problem that is happening by overfishing, then many people and young people will actually check with their supermarkets or wherever they're buying their fish from. If it's not sustainable, then they will not buy or they will not eat from that source. Quotas by government to reduce the amount of fishing, introduce no fishing zones. So actually the government also has to intervene in this problem. They have to do laws, they have to introduce quotas, which means there is a limit on the amount of fishing that will happen in an area, or that there will be an overall limit on fishing. So there will be like boats belonging to the police or officers that will prevent people from going to a certain area to fish. And if they are caught fishing, then there should be laws to make it illegal so that they can protect and conserve the current fish population. And also, they can maybe, for example, make it illegal to fish in a specific season, not all year round. This way, there will be no fish. So they have to make it illegal in certain times, for example, the breeding season. 6a, figure 6.1 is a diagram showing how glucose is used by different organisms. State the number or numbers from figure 6.1 that identify the processes that release the most energy per glucose molecule. So over here, number 1 is actually anaerobic respiration, which is used in fermentation, anaerobic, and number 2 is actually also anaerobic respiration. Number 3 is actually respiration over here. So number 1 is the process that will release the most energy per glucose molecule and takes place in yeast cells. This is actually number 1 and 3. Yeast cells both have anaerobic respiration and aerobic respiration. So double I, state the balanced chemical equation for anaerobic respiration in a yeast cell. So it is actually C6H12O6, which will produce 2C2H5O. This is actually the formula for ethanol, plus 2 carbon dioxides. So state the names of 2 enzymes that are needed to break down starch into glucose in humans. First of all, you have to convert from starch into maltose, which is by the enzyme amylase, and maltase will produce or will convert maltose to glucose. And IV, state the main use of the molecule cellulose in a plant to build cell walls in plants which provide support. So over here in V, Sucrose and amino acids are transported around a plant. State the name of the process by which sucrose is transported around a plant. This is actually translocation. The tissue that transports sucrose and amino acids around a plant, this is actually phloem. And the mineral ion that is used to make amino acids, it is actually nitrate. B. In humans, the buildup of lactic acid creates oxygen debt. State the body tissue that produces the most lactic acid during vigorous exercise. This is actually the muscle. Double I, the oxygen debt needs to be removed after exercise. State how breathing and circulatory systems act to remove the oxygen debt. Faster breathing and heart rate allows ventilation to deliver oxygen for breaking down of lactic acid to remove oxygen debt. What does that mean? First of all, if you do very vigorous exercise or strong exercise, then your body will basically it will after running out of oxygen inside of the body, then it will go and anaerobically respire to produce lactic acid and glucose. So then this will let the body, like for example, if you run a lot, then your leg will suddenly hurt you. This is because of the buildup of the lactic acid. So your body needs to remove it because it is toxic. How will your body remove it? It is by faster breathing and heart rate. This is to allow more oxygen to be delivered rapidly and faster, so that there is oxygen for respiration to break down lactic acid, so that the lactic acid can be delivered as well, faster heart rate to make the blood flow faster so that the blood can move to the liver. State the name of the organ which breaks down lactic acid. This is the liver. This was the end of our exam. Thank you all for watching and good luck with your exams.